one infinite power that is in and through everything, that is in and through everything. And I know, as it is in and through all that I see, everything I touch and taste, that it is in me. And I know that I am part of it. I am part of something so big and so wide and so loud that my presence alone is that of God. And I know that this is true for everyone present this evening. I know that what is shared out of love, that there is joy and happiness and community as we work and as we learn and as we share in this room tonight. And I am so grateful for this. I'm grateful for the knowledge that is and that will become. I'm grateful for everyone here and their participation. And as I release these words, I know that there is only law, that law is honor, love, and truth, and that is where we go. And I say now, and so it is.
And so it is.
I've been treating over these since John gave them to me last week, and it's so powerful. I've never experienced that before. Like, I've done what's called the medicine basket ceremony, the Native American ceremonies, and you know, everyone puts a piece of something that is heartfelt to them. It might be a photograph, or it might be a key, or it might be anything, right? And they all put it in the basket. And then there's a group prayer over it, a little bit of ceremony, and then it goes to the leader, and the leader buries the basket and then prays over it every day for 30 days. And that's the way it was done when I did it. I know there's many variations. And that was powerful. That was interesting. But I think to actually hold things in your hand, and as I was treating in the morning and doing my morning little ritual, I would go through each one and look at each name and remember each person. And the energy that's in this packet is astounding, honestly. And I just think it's been one of the greatest gifts I've had. And so thank you for participating in this exercise, because I just kind of want to pass it around, can I? And everybody feel it, because just take a moment and just know the truth of what is in here. And we'll start with our new upcoming practitioner. And then just pass it, and then when it comes back. So tonight we're doing a recap. We're going to do questions. I'm a little more academic. People who have been with me in a class before know that I take a little bit. Fran said, oh, you're teaching, it's going to have a different twist to it. So it does have that. But it's all the same thing. Maybe I'll just come at it in a different way. But one of the things that John and I did talk about on the phone, and he's in San Diego at a town hall meeting on a beautiful cruise in the harbor. One day.
I know, right?
One day. But is that he's got a specific exercise that we're going to do, and we'll do that in the second half of the class. And the first half of the class is going to be a recap that, you know, bring us up to where we are. But part of that recap is questions. And a couple of people were already talking to me. We have a question about subjective, right? What does that mean? What is the subjective mind? And how to use argument, you know, quote unquote, those negative things that actually happen, and how do we rephrase, or how do we start, how do we look at them in order to come to an awareness of God in those things. And we can do that through an argument. My printing is not nearly as pretty as John's, so just give me that. But are there any other questions that people had? Or that you've encountered, any difficulty with where we're at? Everyone is, yes?
Okay, so I brought this up last week and I'm a little struggling with it, which is the whole goal setting versus treating for what you want, or treating that you already have it, but yet not being specific, or when it's okay to be specific. Like, for instance, vibrant health. Should I be more treating about what does vibrant health feel like versus just the
Or like my knee feels better.
Right.
Okay. So goal or specific, is that capture that for the here?
Yeah.
Okay.
Versus, like, I guess being be too narrow, but at the same time, I do want to kind of be specific in what I'm asking for, but.
Or qualities of God.
Yeah, so the qualities of that goal is more about
Okay.
focusing on that.
Okay, that's a good one. Anything else?
I think that pretty much covers it for me as well. It's like, it's like, if you specify you limit your everything, but you do want to be specific about qualities of what you're looking for, what you want, and unless it's like for this car or whatever, and even that, you know. But that's kind of a difficult point or facet of the whole thing. It's like, okay, how do I get specific over here without narrowing everything down to what?
Right, okay. Yes?
A little bit of confusion around like present tense words. Something we were told the other day was like, my good rushes to me now. Like
Right.
that's okay to say, or would you say more like, my good is mine now? Is there a difference between those two or not?
Okay. That's a great question. I think how we phrase things is so important, the use of our language. And I teach communication studies, so I love this part of the class. So, anything else that people have a question about? So everyone is good with identification of the divine presence or of God, and feeling comfortable with knowing what that is and that all that encompasses. And are you equally comfortable saying that you are all of that? Everyone is good to that point. And then this is where we come into question. How are we like not asking and we're not beseeching? How are we stating what it is that we know to be the truth, right? This is where we are, yes?
And then along the lines of that, the trick is how do you get to the feeling place of having that when you don't already have it?
Right,
And when reality shows otherwise.
right. Reality shows otherwise.
Well, okay, good idea. Yeah, thank you.
Right, okay.
Just
That's kind of going to be covered in the subjective part.
Yeah.
So, anything else around that at this point? Great. Okay. So what I'd like to do, I would like to start with a brief recap before I do anything else and go into that a little bit more. Because John talked about the four P's, right? Making it personal, having it present, having it positive, and
Powerful.
and powerful. Powerful?
Precise.
Precise. Oh, precise. It is powerful. All the four P's equal power.
Well, Barbara does 5 Ps,
Yeah,
and she
Barbara
puts
has-
power.
And she puts power in there.
She would.
See, I would say P plus P plus P plus P equals P.
Yes, there you
Yeah,
go.
that's not the way Barbara does it.
How about peaceful? You could put peaceful in there too.
Say that what?
You could put peaceful in there too.
It's good to see you again.
Just to kind of mellow out the power thing.
Right, okay, all right. So with those in mind, and then we've got the 4 pillars, right, of 4 things. It's health, wealth,
Relationships,
Creative
and what?
self-something.
Okay, and that's good. That's John's stuff. And so, but for me, one of the things I wanted to focus on in the first hour in terms of this recap was looking at the difference between what we've been talking about, the objective and the subjective, induction and deduction. And I asked John a question last week about that. I was like, so is that the same thing when we're talking about it as inductive or deductive? And he just kind of like, whoa, kind of didn't go into it. And you know, he had a certain amount of time. And so I have more time. And so I would like to go into it because this is where I got stuck. For years, I got stuck in the objective, subjective, inductive, deductive. And so is anyone else kind of questioning some of that? I know that
Yeah,
Tom?
well, I mean, as far as subjective, it's all subjective, so how can you make a definition about it anyway?
Right. You mentioned it, and this is also kind of like, it includes almost all of these, right? And so, does this sound like a good place to go?
Yeah, it's like a sticking point.
Go
It's
there.
like, yeah, it's like from here, you know, I mean, yeah.
Okay. So, objective, let's start there. And with that is inductive and deductive. Because if you're reading Holmes at any place, he starts talking about these things. And I get confused, and when I listen to the CD that Barbara narrated all the time, and there is a whole section, and I think, okay, I listen to it, and I think, all right, I got it. And then it's like, no, I don't. And I listen to it again, and I listen to it again. I think I've got it. And so the objective, this is reasoning. It's objective. We can be inductive and deductive within that objective, and that they equal to reasoning. Inductive, or subjective is only deductive. It's only deductive. And this is how I finally figured it out. And I hope I'm not just confusing people with this. That the objective is 1 plus 1 equals 2 with a question mark. Right? So that's 1 question mark plus 1 question mark equals 2.
Actually, no, that would be multiplied, not added.
Yeah, 1 times. It's just putting the question mark up there. I know that. Yeah. So it's 1 question mark plus 1 question mark equals 2 question mark. We don't know what those factors are, is what the question mark is. It's like it's a factor. We don't know what it is. We're not factoring in multiplication. And so whatever are the factors is what we get. And if we can say, this is that kind of causal argument. It's causal. We say things like, if you text and drive, you're going to have a car accident. Right? Did texting and driving actually cause the car accident? No. No, that's a causal argument. And not everyone who texts and drives gets into a car accident, right? And so that is objective reasoning that people use. It's causal. It's 1 plus 1 equals 2, and we know that to be true because this is what we've been taught and this is what we're told. But if we look at the subjective, no, I mean, we don't know the factors. I'm sorry. So it can change. Sorry, I got confused again. So what this is the one that's principle is not bound by precedent. Right? This is Troward's thing. Principle is not bound by precedent. Just because we've been told this is true doesn't necessarily make it true. That's why it's objective. In the subjective and the deductive, we don't have any factors. We just say 1 plus 1 equals 2. That's the way it is. So that's the precedent. Right? Does that make sense, or am I just confusing?
Is that like absolute? Is your subjective, deductive being absolute?
That's a good question. I would say yes. I would say yes, because there's no real determination, but this is gonna be a great discussion. Ooh, look at all the hands in the air. Yes,
Can we just have a basic definition of objective and subjective?
we're gonna
so
get
we-
there.
There you go.
We'll get there.
This stuff it's like you're talking Greek right now until I have a definition.
Right, and I understand, and we're gonna get there. And for me, I learn like this, and I know that other people learn differently, and so I'm doing it this way, John did it that way, and we're gonna give you a definition.
Okay.
It'll be nice and visual for you.
Well, it didn't need to be visual.
For me, inductive is you putting something in, like the causal, you're putting something into that computer to equate to something to come out with an answer of what?
Right,
A question, we'll get a question, will continue to be a question.
right,
This deductive, just, and when you put deductive and said Holmes, I thought Sherlock, because that's my basis. Deductive is you're taking things away, like Occam's razor. You know,
Right.
you're pulling things out, and, oh, well, this is left, and this sum is left, so we're left with this.
right,
So it's an easy compute. The causal reasoning, the inductive is not an easy compute, you're still left with questions.
right, right, and that's where we are with the treatments. Tom and then Nina.
Okay, well, in my world, reasoning and logic is a subtle trap.
Okay,
And so you really just have to depend on your intuition to come out with the truth, because your reasoning mind is real good for 1 and 1 equals 2, because it's meant to solve little problems. But the big problem of the world, you have to intuit and feel your way around, and that's the subjective in my world. You know?
okay, good. Nina.
To me, all of this is nonsense.
Okay,
That's what I just said. You know?
It doesn't matter.
okay,
If you know that there is a force, whatever you want to call it,
right,
is everything, none of that matters.
this is true, this is
There you
true.
go.
Jane?
Yeah, to me, I mean, objective is the world in front of you, and at 1 and 1, if you take, you take two objects, there they are, it's two, and you see it with your eyes. There's nothing subjective about it, it's all objective observation, so,
Okay, that's a good point.
well,
Yeah.
there's nothing for that.
Laura?
So I base it on spirit and law. Which one's spirit and which one's law? Objective or subjective?
This is what you're thinking of here?
Well, one of them belongs with spirit, and I get the words mixed up, and if you just tell me it's objective, I can't think.
Objective is at the top, where the factors may vary, but how, as they come down, it becomes subjective.
No, objective shouldn't be okay.
And then it becomes what they say, what matters, or reality, right? So it's our thought process. So that's how it works. The more, or the less causal we become, in being willing to look at principle is not bound by precedent, to be able to change the basis of where we are, then it comes and turns here. Because that's what's going in, and then the more we're aligned with it, the easier it becomes. Does that make sense? Or is that still confusing? And what about other people? Laura's still looking at it, processing. Now you're just staring blankly. That's not fair.
I need definitions, I guess.
Okay,
We object to that objectivity.
what's that?
I said, we object to the objectivity.
So I was just thinking that you just need to be open, like if your principle is not bound by precedent, so the more open you are, then the more you're gonna be able to take your objective and make it into matter or whatever it is.
Exactly, Nina's nodding while she drinks. She was like, that's correct. Yes. Jan?
I don't understand why you're putting the objective over the subjective, and because it seems to me that objective belongs in the realm of matter. because
Yes.
you're observing matter, and
Let's vote on it.
so therefore, what you see, you know, is concrete, it's not abstract or anything, it has nothing to do with intuition or spirit or anything like
is it
that.
concrete?
What?
It's not concrete.
Right.
It's
Can you
thought.
see it?
Yeah,
Is the table concrete?
so
Or
objective
at some
should be
point, can we put our
more
hands-
matter.
It's not the goal, it's not that, we're not going after an object in that sense. If you break the word down, and I know that you're English, and so communication and English were often are at odds. But it's not like we're going after a goal. This is fluid up here. It's objective. There's no point. There's not a goal in it. The goal comes down here as we recognize it and realize it to whatever degree that we are. It's the language. It's the language that's confusing.
Yeah.
And remember, now this was written a long time ago when language use was different.
Is this Troward?
No, this is Holmes.
Oh,
It's a little bit of Troward, but it's Holmes.
I have this thing written down. And I know we're throwing a lot of ideas and they can be said so many ways. I have basically the down is expression, the up is experience. The middle subjective is the field, neutral potentiality, the yes of God. The top is cause, middle is field, and bottom is effect. Those are facts in the bottom and truth on the top. So they are objective cause going down through the subjective field or neutral potentiality as of God to the effect or matter,
Right.
which are facts and truth and difference.
That's it.
It's arguing so.
But I think it should be upside down.
What?
I think that whole thing should be upside down.
That could be, but we're
Because
studying Holmes.
Spirit is really involved
Go
with
ahead.
matter, so.
I just want to take us back to Nina's comment real quick in a slightly different perception.
Okay.
So, okay, 1 + 1 is 2, only because we were taught that 1 + 1 is 2.
That's right.
If we were taught that 1 + 1 is 5, that would be our truth. Therefore, the cause, the objective, is our perception of the truth.
Right.
And we can shift our truth at any moment to know a different truth. And that's what we're moving into with the subjective.
Exactly that. Well said. Very well said. Yeah.
Encore.
Let's end it there. That was good. Thank you.
then it's language.
It is. It's all language.
Yeah.
Right. And part of that language is who we think we are. And this is something that I've said before in a class, and I think that it's important because how we use language is important, because how we use language and how language is used in the larger world defines us, right? Our perception of ourselves are based on other people's perceptions of us. And, and so, and then only our perceptions are based on other people's perception, what we perceive them to think of us, and then we go away, and then it's based on our perceptions of ourselves. So we walk around with this, sometimes conflicting perception of who we are. And I know what you're thinking, but bear with me on this. We're going to walk through this. Yes.
One last thing. To the objective, the matters, all these other things, the moving through the expression and coming back up, the experience, top and bottom are very, very subtly the same, and yet very subtly different.
Right.
So they're really, they look like a plant, and that looks like a plant, but they're not really, there's subtle differences, and they're very similar, except for where they originate and where they go.
Right. So who wants to give specific definitions for objective and subjective? Does anyone want to give it a shot, or should we look it up in Holmes?
Google.
Huh?
Google it.
Yes.
Objective is pertaining to the world of objects, concrete objects. Subjective is pertaining to the world of the mind.
What did you think of that? I like that.
I like
Well
that.
done,
Well
Jane.
done, Jane.
Did you think?
I like that. I'm glad it's been recorded so that we can listen to it
Yeah, well
again.
done.
Did
Four
everyone
thumbs
hear
up.
that?
Is that what you're accepting as the definition?
Oh my goodness.
Yes, but I'm just a person
Well, I just
standing
need to
in
know
front
to
of it.
write down,
Oh,
to
okay.
use the context.
What, say that again.
Objective is pertaining to the world of objects, three-dimensional objects that you can see through your, which you can perceive.
What you can
through
perceive.
your five senses. That's objective, and subjective is pertaining to mind, what all the ideas and things.
How it comes together in our head.
Yeah,
Yeah.
right, something like that.
You're great, Jane.
I think that we all have to, that's excellent,
That's a good
because
one.
that resonates with me. But I think all of us have to come to our own understanding of what that
That's what
is,
this word.
right?
What-
Barbara could say it, John could say it, I could say it, Troward says it, Hopkins says it, and still, I've read all of that, and still, I'm still kind of like that, until it resonates with me, and then I can go on. So have a definition that you've discovered for yourself is really the point, yeah.
Do I need to know all this, or can I just do the V? Do I need to know, is this like, I think it's just, I don't know. I like
You know-
simple and to the point. And
Right.
That, the V that that you were talking about.
Exactly.
that
What
makes
John
sense.
did last
It
week.
seems to be getting really convoluted.
Well, this is about where it stops, but,
Because that seemed,
It
it
can be.
seemed like this is making it more convoluted.
I
That's why.
absolutely understand what you're saying, I do. Because when we put a lot of thought into something, we start getting all this stuff, and we can keep it really simple. What happens when we keep things really simple is that we start ignoring other pieces. And not that you have to know this stuff like the back of your hand. Again, this is just me, which I keep saying, right? I'm a little more academic to the application. And that's because I am a really good con in my head. I can say one thing and be acting another, just walking down the street. And Holmes addresses that really clearly. And for me, if I don't understand who I am, because we can go along being happy, you know, praise God, all the divine presence is everywhere. The divine presence is in the table, the divine presence is in the leaves, in the clothes I wear, and then still walk out of here scowling,
Yeah.
right? There's something that we're missing, right? And I'm not saying that people who have that happy persona are fakes. I'm not saying that at all. I think they have something I haven't been able to grasp tightly yet. But what I know is that I know now when I'm walking down the street if I'm in alignment with who I am. And some of that is because I've done a lot of soul searching. And if you're not willing to go to what's back of the issues, then it's only a temporary fix. That's my opinion. Temporary fix, Kate Grayson's opinion. It's not law. Yeah.
Well, I'm sure with all of this, all these different explanations, the engineers and the scientists and the overthinkers actually resonate when thank this, but there is a point where you go, okay, that's good.
Yes, we are good. And we're gonna move on from it. Does anyone have anything else you want to say about it? Because I love discussion. I love dissent, yes.
So, I guess I want to use the word cause. Is that where you're putting objective?
Yes.
You are here.
Cause is
What?
objective.
Cause
Yes.
is where the
The
objective is?
objective is cause.
Because what Jane was saying, objective was matter. And so that's where I was confused. I want to put
No.
cause before we get to
What-
matter.
I can't hear you, what she.
She's saying that she heard you say that objective was matter.
Oh.
Well,
No,
you said
perception.
object.
And she said it's the perception of matter.
No, she said pertaining to the world of objects.
That's
Through perception. Because I definitely heard her say perception.
Perception,
So,
Yep.
through what you see, perceive through the five senses.
So if you want to keep it really simple, what you put into it is what you get out, right?
Here's my question though.
Yes.
How about intuition? Is that subjective or objective?
What do you think?
Well, I would say it's subjective.
What do people think? Is intuition subjective or?
Be careful.
Neither it's spiritual.
Hmm?
It's neither, it's spiritual.
Yeah.
Intuition's objective.
What?
According to Holmes, intuition would be objective, isn't that right?
Oh, gosh, no. No, because it's from the mind. And you can't see it, or you don't have those five senses in there at all. If you have an intuition about something, you have a feeling about it.
That's right, and so it's subjective, it's at the top.
Yeah.
You said subjective was in the middle,
Subjective.
We're talking about objective. Oh my goodness.
but you just said subjective.
No.
You said subjective
Back
was
to
in the
back
middle.
up.
I did say subjective is at the
Objective is
Coming.
Objective is at the top.
Oh, because I thought you said subjective was at the top.
No, objective.
She said it's objective.
What's that got to do with what she said?
Because I got it all written.
Okay.
Crazy,
That's got nothing to do with what she said.
crazy.
It's
She
the
said
same
it's
thing John
objective.
said, just in a different way.
different, yeah.
She just said
From
it's
last week.
Okay, I'm just going by what you just said, that's why I was trying to
I think
clarify.
I think you heard the apostrophe S run into it and heard
Ah.
subjective when I said objective.
Okay.
It's subjective,
Okay.
Yeah, that's what
yeah.
I haven't-
This is great, I love participation, all the way around. Yeah.
This is how I solve it. I take this and I superimpose the tree of life, and that way you have all the different states of mind, and it's pretty much the same
That's
model.
great for you, but this is
I know,
this is
well,
science of
that-
mind.
I
and
know,
we're-
but that
we're
integrates
learning
everything
Holmes.
rather than us being a sectarian.
Right,
Yeah.
so,
Can I ask something really quick?
yes.
Before you move away from it? When you stated inductive and deductive, what did that have to do with anything that you wrote on the board? Because you never followed up and finished with that.
And reasoning.
Subjective, no, objective is both, inductive and deductive, it's a type of reasoning.
But what is inductive and deductive?
Inductive and deductive.
We don't know what those
Deductive
mean,
is-
so.
no.
So deductive reasoning is figuring something out based on clues.
That's right.
And inductive reasoning is knowing those things without having to figure them out.
Anyone else want to go there?
It's
Yeah.
like,
Well, inductive.
Tell me your name again.
Dan.
Dan?
Yeah,
Okay.
inductive is when, like, you're reading something in to an argument.
Right.
Like if you said, like if you flunked out of school or something like that, then you think, I flunked out of school, therefore I must be an idiot. That's induction.
Right.
And that's why I don't understand, you said,
Even more like.
that subjective can only be deductive, but it seems to me that it could be also inductive.
Well, Holmes says that it is only deductive.
Does he have a definition in there?
Yes, but that's not where I'm at, but we can go there. Because I think that's important.
Yeah.
Inductive reasoning, if anyone's got this book with them, no? 71, it's on page 71 and 89 and 98. Definition of reasoning. So, let's see.
Is that the concordance?
No, it's just the index in the back. This one doesn't have a concordance. It's the 97 edition, I believe. This, maybe it does. I don't think, I've not ever seen it. What did I say for 71? Two ways of reasoning. Two processes of reasoning known to the human mind. One is inductive and the other is deductive. Inductive reasoning is an inquiry into the truth. It is a process of analysis, which is what Dan was saying. Deductive reasoning is that process of reasoning which follows from an already established premise. It is from a whole to a part. For example, I look about and say, John Smith is good, Mary Jones is good, my neighbors are good, consequently God must be good. This is a process of analysis which leads to the conclusion that cause, back of all things, must be good. Deductive reasoning would operate this way. God is good. Consequently, Mary Jones, John Smith, and my neighbors are good. Because God is good, they cannot be otherwise.
Because why?
Because God is good, they cannot be otherwise. So inductive is taking the factors and going 1 plus whatever those factors are equals 2. And deductive is taking 2 and going, it equals these factors.
So what I'm hearing from what you just said in the book, inductive is being able to come up with parts and think of something new.
Right.
Deductive is something that's already there and only able to break down into known parts.
Yes.
So inductive can be creative and deductive is just
subjective. Deductive is subjective.
Yeah, well, deductive is just pure logic. That's
Right.
all it is, just pure logic.
And it follows exactly what we put into it. Drew?
Can I go just,
We've all got Google out.
all right. Inductive reasoning is the opposite of deductive reasoning. Inductive reasoning makes broad generalizations from a specific observation. In inductive, in inference, we go from a specific to a general. So they're just the flip side of a coin.
Exactly.
This is how you get there.
That same thing. This is very why I don't let my students have their phones in.
I know. I knew that, but I couldn't
We
put it
held
in
off
words.
for as long
That
as we
and
could.
checking their emails.
Angry bird.
Okay, are we good?
We're very good.
I know we're good. Is everyone comfortable with moving on?
Yes.
Because we're going to go into another area that's a little bit not normally taught in science and mind, but I think is important.
Oh dear.
Maybe this is why they let me teach.
We're going off the rails. Uh-oh.
Uh-oh, here we go. Again, some of you have had this before, and this is the point that Nina is kind of like, what are you saying? So the whole point of the third step, this whole point of affirmation, depends on your sense of volition. How much can you accomplish? How much do you believe in yourself? Because, you know, we're not believing in this outside peace out here. We're not asking God to favor us because God favors everything and everyone equally. And so, because we are all a part of that, we're all part of that divine presence. It's like, I know that you all have that, but I can't remember who said this right now, but they said, what do babies of cats grow up to be? Cats, right? And because they are, and it's like that. It's like little kids grow up to be us, adults, and it's like we are that. And so if we're children of God, then there we are, right? The more aware and the more we grow, the more we become that part of that divine presence. And part of that divine presence is when we state in positive affirmation, it's only as powerful as we believe ourselves to be. Right? Right? And that is called volition. And volition comes from a high sense of self-efficacy. Is this ringing a bell for people who were introverted? So volition comes from a high sense of self-efficacy. How much can you achieve? How much can you do? If you state your word, does it happen? Do you believe it will be?
Yeah.
And so, but self-efficacy, actually, that's the highest level. Your high level of self-efficacy comes from 3 other parts of who we are. And this is a combination of, communication and psychology. But one, it comes from our self-concept. Who do we think that we are? And our self-concept is literally our perception of self. It's my perception of self as I'm riding my motorcycle. It's your perception of self as you're sitting here in this classroom. It's the thoughts that are running through your mind. It's your perception of self, right? You think that maybe what I'm saying is you know, malarkey or something. You just want to get back to the basics. But this is the basics because it's you, right? And so we go there, and then we have self-awareness. And self-awareness is knowing that who we are and why we do things. It's like, I just gave this example yesterday in an email. They're like, what's the difference between self-awareness and self-knowledge? And I said, self-knowledge is knowing that I like rye toast with strawberry jam because it tastes good, right? But self-awareness is knowing that I like rye toast with strawberry jam because I was raised in a German household, and it brings back all these memories of who I am. It goes into my frame of reference. And that's the difference between self-knowledge. I know these things about myself. I like, you know, action films. And if someone said why, you might go, well, you know, they're entertaining, without actually going any further back to figure out what was actually getting triggered. And that's self-awareness. And the other piece of that is your self-esteem. And here's the point, the reason that I think these things are so important. Because self-esteem is actually what you think of yourself, right? How much value do you place on yourself? So your self-concept isn't your self-esteem, right?
Right. No.
Not at all. We can be running around with this image of who we are, but once we get home and we're alone and then we're in the shower and we go, fat, right? Or I did that, I don't know, my whole self-esteem is not the way I project myself. And neither is it my self-awareness. And years ago, someone said exactly what I said earlier. We can only know ourselves through the perceptions, through the eyes of others, because that's where we get how people view us. If B had a scowl on her face, or if I have students that, you know, just absolutely, you know, think I'm worthless, or pay no attention to me, and on a bad day, I pick on them, right? Because my self-esteem is affected by what I perceive them to think of me. I think, and honestly, they're not thinking of me at all. They're just, they're thinking of what they think about. But it affects my self-esteem because I have this self-concept that I project, that I'm confident, and that I teach, and I do this, and I ride a motorcycle. None of those things matter unless there's a combination that all are here. Yes?
So, you said we know ourselves through the perception of others, and then there's also the idea of not worrying what everybody thinks of us.
Right. We can only know who we are alone, in reflection, and through the eyes of others, because unless we're open to others' perceptions, then we don't know what's some of the things, like we walk around. If you look at something called the Johari window, those 4 boxes, open, hidden, unknown, and I can't think of the other one right now, known to everybody. And
does that mean that if somebody from their very early childhood just grows up in a room and therefore and has no feedback from other people about who they are, does that mean that person is totally unaware of himself?
no, I wouldn't say that.
Why not?
Because I would say if there's a thought process going on, that they have a level of a self-concept and a self-awareness of who they are in that room.
Well,
I don't know, I can't argue that. I'm not a psychologist, I'm
That's
a
kind of
communications.
Yeah, well,
but like I guess what they're aware of, if they just are by themselves and nobody's giving them feedback and they have no idea of their effect on others or anything like that.
Yeah, but many of us grow up that way in the larger world, you know?
What?
I think many of us grow up like that in the world at large. We don't have to be enclosed in a small room, that we go crashing through the world unaware of how we affect other people.
Okay.
But
So it's,
I don't know, Jane, I can't answer that for,
I'm gonna attempt to answer that.
Okay,
In
great.
the way that I perceive that.
Good.
So,
Can you hear, Jane?
I'll talk as loud as I can
Okay.
for you, Jane.
Oh, that's nice, thank you.
All right, so, in truth, what we think other people perceive of us is just our projection. It's not what other people think of us at
That's right.
all.
True.
It has nothing to do with other people. Therefore, complete self-concept, self-awareness, self-esteem is always flowing from within us because we are one with everyone, and everyone that we look at is
That's
us, and they look at us as them.
Absolutely.
And
That's
so no matter if
Absolutely.
we're in a box from when we're born until we're an adult, we have that complete self-awareness and personality, whether we meet people or not, because we are projecting that to ourselves without having another person to project it
Right.
upon.
I would agree, I absolutely agree.
Okay.
Yes.
But also, people and animals who are social, if they don't get enough attention when they're little, a lot of them just die, or, I mean, you have to have some interaction, especially when you're very young, just to survive.
There is a choice in that,
Yeah.
right? I'm not gonna go there,
Yeah.
because that's a whole nother
Yeah, well,
discussion and argument.
They
Wasn't
call
it?
them
And
arguments.
this, exactly what you're talking about and what your question is, leads us to a sense of self-efficacy. The stronger we know who we are, the more we understand why we do what we do, and all of that raises our self-esteem, raises our self-awareness, our self-concept becomes authentic, and we have a higher sense of self-efficacy. And if we have a high sense of self-efficacy, the concept of volition, when we're doing the third step of a treatment, is just powerful. But if we have a low sense of self-esteem and we're working on treatments, go ahead.
I wanted to ask, is the word conviction similar to self-efficacy?
That's a good question. That's a good
Exactly.
question. Conviction.
Like I have the conviction that I am this, I am that.
Yeah.
That's good, because
Is
I don't
that-
know what that word means, so I would like a definition.
Which word? Self-efficacy. Efficacy is the sense that you feel you're able to achieve your goals.
Something's efficacious.
In a nutshell. What, Jane?
If something's efficacious, it means that it can bring about a specific effect.
That's
Right.
right, yes.
So then you're more willing to make choice.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Your competency, your
And
ability to
so
bring about.
the whole point of this and going into the induction and deduction and subjective and, whatever the other one is. You guys know it. Is that question of who are you, right? And what is the quality of God that you are searching for in whatever it is that you're affirming? Yes.
I perceive another element too, and that's your vibration, your mood, your energy level has an effect on all of that.
Absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely. And so these things, again, are important because the more we know ourselves, the less we are I don't know if affected is the right word, but for the outside things to affect us, right? The less open we are to some of those things.
If we knew ourselves very well, or whatever the wordage is, wouldn't the things on the outside not really be there? We wouldn't even notice them, really. So they wouldn't really affect us because they wouldn't be there because we
Right.
know ourselves so much that we would create
Right.
whatever we were trying to create. I mean,
True that.
Mhm.
That would be the goal to go for.
True that.
Yeah, that would be, that's my goal. Hopefully I'll get there.
I don't know if that makes
No,
sense.
I don't know,
It just
that's
kinda
all
came off
about
the top of my head.
language, I just said I was never gonna get there. Hopefully, one day in the future, I might
Uh-oh.
achieve that.
No,
God
now
likes
you're gonna get there.
now.
Now you're gonna get
You
there.
are there now.
Yes.
What's interesting is I had an experience where for whatever reason, I came up with this wonderful formula, standing in the middle of the room with my palms up. And I said, based on biblical information that's been given to me, it was that you promised me that I would get what I want if I learned how to ask for it. Then I said, so I'm asking for, and I would say what it was. And like magic, these things would come about. I could go to sleep after saying it and people would knock at my door offering me these things I'd asked for. The minute I went, at the time I was studying with religion, which not important, and their concept was if you ask for selfish things, you're asking from a selfish God, so therefore it was bad. The minute that information came into my reality, I no longer could manifest things the way I was. And I'm saying this to say that of ourselves, we can do miraculous things. And if we can stay in that plane of knowing, we can continue to do them. But sometimes when we get implants and information from other sources stating that opposite, and if you believe it, because evidently what was said to me, I felt shame, guilt, the whole negative vibration of my experience, so then I couldn't manifest that any longer. It's just a very interesting thought.
You limit yourself. You limited yourself. Separation, yeah. Yeah.
Feeling of separation.
Any other comments offhand? Okay, so, back to homes. Science of mind. If one says to himself, I am filled with life, health, strength, and vigor. Pardon?
It's not enough.
This is in the original Science of Mind.
It's in the Science of Mind.
And then goes down the street saying, I see a poor blind beggar, a criminal, and a sick person. He is still treating himself just as much as when he affirmed that he was perfect. We are only as perfect as we perceive others to be. This does not mean that we shut our eyes to those who are in trouble, for we may have sympathy with the one having trouble without having sympathy for his trouble. We may have sympathy for all, for as one of the great prophets of the New Age said, the divinity of Christ was made manifest through the humanity of Jesus. And that's on page 124. And that somewhat goes to what we're talking about. And it's like, who are we? Because if we are strong in who we are, then there's no need to judge other people, right? And so, yes?
When I'm looking at this as being strong in who I am as an expression of God, so it's really, to me, you're all around step 2.
Right. Right. Which is exactly why step 3 comes in as an affirmation.
Because you're strong in 2, then you know where you are, who you are, and you can expect what you want.
So what happens when we affirm then?
We know the truth.
We know the truth.
Yeah.
And the truth is?
Cause of whatever you affirm.
Is whatever you affirm, because we are the divine presence manifest. Yeah.
I forget what book, because I've been through so many classes, I can't remember all of them. But in one of the books, it may have been Path to Wealth or whatever, there was a passage, like it was 3 men, and someone will help me out. 3 men are treating and they're wanting to receive, and they do receive, but the first man gets, you know, $50, or the next man gets 500, the next gets 5,000, because they are at different levels in society and perceptions of themselves. They received what they treated for on the level of their perception of who they were and where they were.
Yeah, that's right.
Does anybody know where that came from?
It's from the original Science of Mind and the recording of Waterhouse.
So that means the ones with the highest self-esteem get the most, huh?
Well,
What they thought of, for
no.
example, what they thought of was rich. To somebody extremely poor,
Right.
$50 is very rich.
Exactly.
To somebody
Yeah, that's
better
right.
off, you know, more and then more, you
Yeah.
know. it's just what their perception of it
Exactly.
was.
Doesn't mean you can't
Exactly.
change that
No,
perception.
that's
Right,
true.
that's
but-
exactly right, yeah.
But it's,
Yeah,
So that's
it speaks to
self-concept.
both, yeah, it speaks,
Yeah.
it speaks to all.
right. But we can
But it
change
also
that
ties into
self-concept.
self-esteem.
We can have a higher
Yeah.
sense of volition and self-efficacy. We can change that,
Yeah, that's what.
right?
Can I ask where the envelopes are?
We're the way.
And they're right here. I ran,
You've been holding them?
I ran out of people.
Fran, did you get
Who
one?
didn't get, did the
Fran
center
didn't get
get
one,
one?
Fran didn't get it.
No, I didn't.
Oh,
Okay.
Nina didn't either.
Nina will get it and then we'll send it back. Did you all get it? Okay. Okay, so it's the qualities. We're gonna go back to that because it's all tied together. And so if someone says, I can't see without my glasses, and this is in the 97 edition of Science of Mind, he says, I can't take off my glasses, then wear them. You begin to make the declaration that there is one perfect vision seen through you, right? It's not that you're dependent on the glasses. He goes on to say, where is it here? Vision. Somehow this got mixed up. He says that we can be grateful for the glasses, seeing that your eyes are perfect vision, and you can be grateful for what you have that is helping you, that you feel is helping you to see. But you separate that from the objective and the subjective, right? Many of us are wearing glasses, and I'm grateful that I have the vision to see. It's that simple. But I'm not dependent on the glasses. If I knew the truth of that. And that's a fine line, because I want to know the truth of that, but I can't. Right now, I tell myself I can't drive without my glasses, right?
That's on the wall.
It is that, but I go to the shooting range sometimes, and I was wearing my glasses, and I was missing it. I was like all over the place, and I thought, my glasses are not helping me because they're trifocals, and every time I was trying to look at the sight, and I would like lean back and the guy would go down, and I realized that my perfect vision when I'm dependent on my glasses was nothing, right? So I took my glasses off, and I was much better in what I was doing. For me, it's just a great recreational pastime. But whatever, I know people judge that automatically, so it's whatever, deal with your stuff.
So you're treating for your vision, and so would you be like visualizing yourself driving without your glasses, and that's kind of your treatment or, I don't know, I guess it's my question.
I can't answer that, because I don't want anyone,
Absolutely.
I wouldn't want me driving down the road without my glasses at this point in my life. And
Correct.
so if you really believe that you see with the vision and through the eyes of God and that all of that, I mean, I do, and this is where we get into this stuff, and I'm saying this on video, right? What did Barbara and John say? How often do they take off their reading glasses? You know, Barbara's is permanently fixed in her hair. She watches these, and then she talks to me later. She'll go, when we're tending the fire, I know that in July she'll go permanently fixed in my hair.
So I've done some natural vision improvement training with a teacher, and in the beginning he was very much into the physical relaxation exercises of the eyes, and now he's more into teaching about the mind and how that is the much more powerful way to take off your glasses and see.
Yeah,
So it's possible.
But you're still wearing.
it is.
I am.
Yeah.
And there are
fell off the
people,
wagon.
who have been able to do that very thing. I can do it with my knee. I mean, I know that my leg I'm in perfect health, but here I stand.
I would say that it's equal to, perfect vision is equal to the thought of being cancer-free, okay? Just like manifesting $1 is equal to manifesting $1 billion.
Right.
There's no difference. It's all about your perception of if you can reach that place.
Right.
So, if you can get there.
Right, and that goes to what Tom was saying about the energy around that flow, yeah?
And I believe also it's the energy or the importance that you put on it. I mean, because honestly, well, glasses make you look smart and cool. But, it's the, whatever you put your energy to and how much self-efficacy and everything else, how much volition you put into it. You might want to really be like proactive on like a bullet wound, but glasses, you might not want to have that much force into it, I know, like.
Okay, hang on.
You don't need the medicated ones, you just.
I think part of the question was, in treatment, can you visualize and know that I am able to see without my glasses, as
Right.
opposed to, I'm really happy about how I see. I think whatever works for you, if it's a step where I can see without my glasses, this is the truth of what I am, then stating that and knowing it and visualizing your face without glasses works towards your treatment.
Right.
And
Yes.
then at another point where your awareness may shift, then you'll be going, man, all I know is I'm happy because I have perfect vision, and I don't have to specifically say I don't have glasses.
Right.
But I may be at a point where I start going, I don't have glasses. I see my face without glasses. I see well, and it just is a progression in how you feel at the time and how you want to express it in your treatment. Sometimes you have to start with the physical visualizations, and then as you progress and see these demonstrations, then it comes to a point of doing it at the I'm happy, or the more esoteric reasons for treatment, or concepts, as opposed to I see my perfect house, and visualizing my house
Right,
works in treatment because that's what I want.
right.
But I also will add in, I feel really good walking in the rooms. I may not get specific about the color of the paint, but sometimes I will, because it helps me be in that point of knowing that it's mine. So
Right.
you have to go by what works for you
That's right.
and start there.
Exactly that, exactly that. And I know that my glasses are part of my self-concept because I think they make me look, smart and professorial and all of that. But that's a different thing. But the truth is that it's the feeling. It's the feeling when you walk into your house and when you're wandering around there. And it's the feeling and the belief of not being dependent on glasses, and the feeling of being able to have 20/20 vision or to see clearly. It's the feeling when we find money on the sidewalk, like Edwin Gaines says, we know a dollar bill, 10 yards away. We are walking down the street and we go, like that, and it's that feeling that we know what money is. When we have a lot of money in our back pocket or something, or change in our pocket, we almost know it intuitively we know it, we just know. And so it all goes to the feeling, and if you can imagine yourself. Someone said when I was in undergrad or in my graduate program, they were like, and I was poor, and she was like, one day I just started, someone said to me, think of a spiritual bank account where you have $1 million. And I was like, what is $1 million? I couldn't go there. And so I started with what I knew I could. I started with $1,000 in a spiritual bank account. And the universe provided $1,000 within just a few days. So I upped it, and I upped it, and I upped it. And then it was like, I have $10,000 in a spiritual bank account. And it came to me in different ways, and I was able to pay my tuition. It was the strangest thing. And sometimes I still do that. But I did at the level that I could recognize and know was true for me. And that's the point of affirmation. And we're not going to take any more questions because John wants me to do this exercise, and we're going to take a 10-15-minute break. But we'll come back.
Good conversation.
It is, yeah?
Well, I don't know.
Great conversation. A little bit. We're going to break people up, though. So welcome back, we're not gonna, no, okay, language unfortunate there. We are going to break into smaller groups of 4 to 5 people. And so we did this whole hour recap, and what a great discussion it was. And the whole point of, you know, the 4th step, which we didn't move into, but what we kept talking about in theory was acceptance, right? Of knowing that, of recognizing that divine presence, and with that is the gratitude. And so there's not much I can say about gratitude. If you did the exercises in the book, we all know what gratitude is. We know when it fills our bodies, and we know the difference between, as John's book says, we just say thank you automatically, or, you know, thank you, oh, that's great, or whatever. We know the difference between authentic gratitude when we're really feeling blessed. I miss that song. I am so blessed at the offering. I do. I miss it, miss it, miss it. Because I sing it all the time in my own head. Or I sing, I am opening, you know, my heart is open to receive, that song too. And so we know when it's an authentic gratitude. And so I didn't really want to, you know, focus on that, because I think that you already know that. That's pretty straightforward. But can you be grateful for what appears to not be present? Which is what, going back to one of those questions. And how does that work in the present tense? How do we say, I'm so grateful for this automobile or for this home, and you know, those things that we've just affirmed that we have. And that's what we're going to practice here tonight.
Yay.
Yay. And it's pretty straightforward. It's, we're going to take, John suggests, this is John's exercise. I've participated in it before when I took this class from him. We ask for volunteers for each one of the 4 areas. And would someone like to volunteer for health? That would like to work on a specific issue? Okay, so we have 1 volunteer. For wealth? Wealth? For relationships. Who would like to work with relationships? And who would like to work on self-expression? Self-expression. Okay, so the 4 people I'm going to ask you to come to the head of each table. Let's make it easy that way. Just pick a table. Breezy's already at a table. You're already at a table. So we have wealth, health, self-expression, and relationships. And then what we need are 3 to 4 people to join each person. And that's open. Wherever you feel like your energy is going to be most lent tonight. We have wealth, health.
Okay.
Come and just join them at their table. Come into a small group.
Yeah.
You are what? For health, wealth, health, relationships, self-expression. So you're all clear you want self-expression. You're all clear you want wealth.
Yes.
You're a wealth guy.
He took a chair from that side. You can't straddle.
Jane, okay, hang on.
This exercise.
Let me get this down. Folks, let me just look at it here. Because I would like someone to join the health. Is anyone no one is ever treating for any kind of health-related issues? Okay, then you can. Just what I like doesn't really count. But I will join this.
Okay.
Okay, so this is what we're going to do. We're not going to go do the 5th step of treatment. We're not going to do the release of it, but work specifically on the gratitude of it. But your person is going to tell you specifically what they're working on, right? And then you're going to write the first 4 steps of treatment. Together. Yeah.
Okay.
So, first 4 steps of treatment. And so, I'm just going to throw that. And then you're going to read them to the class.
Okay.
Yeah. Here's some more paper. And then you'll be combining it and reading it all to the class. And I'm going to join you guys in a minute. So, and then you're going to combine everybody's stuff and read the final first 4 steps to the class. So you're going to want to work on steps 1, 2, 3, and 4 is the affirmation step. The gratitude. Good? Is everyone clear on the directions? All right.
You're gonna be sorry.
I know.
Okay, quick question. We're just doing the 4 steps with the gratitude at the end.
That's right.
That's the only direction
We're not
we've got.
releasing.
That's the only direction.
Individual things that we put in those envelopes,
Say what?
on the individual things we.
No, on Breezy's issue. You guys are helping her write a treatment. Yeah, you're helping the person write a treatment. You're treating for them when you're helping. Okay.
So my issue is I want.
Yeah, I've been working on it.
And then no money left to be students.
youngsters or are they?
Okay.
I don't know. I mean, I don't want to say it as a problem. That is one problem if you take it as a negative.
Right.
So that's what I'm treating first. What else?
So you already have a message, right? So what is the first step? Right, but we're writing it out. God is
the
everything.
breath of life.
See? So you're just there, took the quality of God into the first step. So let's write all that out. What else is God though? God is that.
Which is,
Sure.
If you were given treatment, so would you do that whole first step?
which is precise.
That's
Feeling is like,
It is.
the other word is
I do the platform.
what it is teaching someone to do their.
Oh, unlimited income coming in from
Empowering them to do their part.
any amount.
Yeah, it's a mutual flow.
Unlimited income, so I don't have to worry about I'm thinking about the dollar bill. I'm not
You're
thinking
going to
about
read
it
this
anymore because it's not.
in class, so you might want to make some notes about this. And you're treating for so your first step.
Take another step.
Yeah.
Is not.
It's always a future.
Or maybe
It's gotta be now.
you
It's
start
gotta be
the
here
year
and
in
now.
a second. But however it comes out. So what are the gut qualities?
And as the universe trying to express itself through you, therefore you, it's sort of like,
That's what I'm on the second step.
Yeah, well, I'm just saying that, I thought I'm gonna go check on the scrolls.
spiritually, that is the language.
So, yeah, I
Yeah,
guess that's a good
you've got a
thing
really
about
good
you.
grip on it.
That's
So,
Dynamic
slightly
person.
And that God is within me is what I think God.
Well, why would God express itself through
I mean, and so, but so do I need to like focus at all about my issue or
Not to play small,
or is that where step 3 comes in?
that's where step 3 comes in.
Yeah, it's all
You can,
how do I figure this
a
out?
lot of
Well,
this
there's
is
the
good.
thing
You
is
notice as the
big
quality of
small
God in
is-
the beginning.
That's a bad term to use.
Because it's.
Because small can be a good thing. So in small can be what you want. So it's, say big or small.
As a number funnel.
What's separate stuff, maybe build it all together, right? Big giant thing, and then the separate stuff kind of.
That's a qualitative term. Qualitative terms are
Third
good.
stuff, is more specific,
Yeah.
and it's a little bit.
Then you're setting limitations.
They really do separate the first two from the third. Looking for that theme that runs through.
Well, I would say
God is
how
the presence of the
Creative force of the universe.
I know that's
So we want to say, I know that there is one.
God is spirit.
God, okay, yes, God.
everything,
Creative.
entirety that's ever been.
Force of the universe.
How are you?
Because you're right.
And then by positioning into, I recognize.
I'm
just here to check
that
I'm just leaving it as it is.
this
Just keep it simple,
universal
yeah.
love.
My cook's great, my friend.
We need one. Yeah, we need more in step one. Yeah.
Monopoly money.
God is the creator. What other words did you have?
Well, dynamic.
I know
And
that
just like
there's
the, just like the person was getting $50, $500, $5,000, it's where you expect it is.
we need to have like a couple of sentences of what God is.
What God is.
Which we're not doing. So they're just doing it, and they are.
Your money.
Just saying, so it
Oh, yeah.
So we're
Total
gonna.
science.
And then I'm pulling it all together. Is God, yes.
So the point is so that everybody's aware of how each step
I start having.
Right, but a spiritual mind treatment's not just for spending for 4 steps, it's more like, you know.
The first step can be short.
Resonating with it.
Sure. Brings clarity to you.
Did you hear well, one of the exercises is you have a
God is everything.
No, but it can
and
be,
the first
it can
day
be
you make
short.
1,000, the second day you make 2,000, third day you make 3,000. And you
If
write what you spend it
God
on.
is everything
You
I
write what you
am.
spend it on.
I actually got blank check and started doing it. You can actually like.
If
you can
you
text with your bank
feel,
accounts,
you know,
yeah,
that
start writing checks. I go for like
all of that energy,
I
that's
the
one
thing and
thing.
just like that card.
And if not, then maybe another day you add something else.
Thousands of stories have we heard.
Okay, so then we're doing a treatment for.
Down a specific amount, second
Melanie.
Those
Jim Carrey is a big example.
Yes.
Wrote himself a $10 million check.
Now that all your presence.
What speedometer is.
I like to focus more on all of those qualities, the divine presence, because it keeps me more aware.
Right, but it doesn't have to.
I like injury.
I
You're sitting
the
on
more
couch,
that we
you're
acknowledge
sitting
the
on diamonds,
presence,
you're right over there, and by the way, you got this much money in this account, and blah, 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 and there's food.
then that's where.
My thing is I know that I'm wanting it because I'll start seeing like.
And at the same time, you don't want to be route, like John said, you don't want to follow.
Okay, we need to start focusing on
Saying the same phrase.
Well, health and.
So-
I mean,
I'm not gonna lie,
I'm not a big word person. See, I don't like the term God, so I never use it. I find the term God. So I don't use the first step.
Right.
Recognize
you are one.
All right.
No,
God
you want this, the second one.
is
The first one is about how everything
God is
is
the dynamic
spirit,
force,
energy, yada, yada.
spirit,
So you gotta get terminology.
flow as God. I have one,
Beginning
the
of
source, creative force.
Okay.
There you go. Okay,
I
but that's
see a
the
lot of
first
Okay,
step.
so I got to second
Yeah,
step.
we've been talking about it, we're just now getting to the
Okay.
writing them.
Okay,
So third step.
first step. Well, you
Well,
did it.
well,
Running into
I am,
time.
No, we're good, we're good.
Okay.
We'll make it with time is spare.
Oh, yeah, I am.
There is, we
I
have all
am.
the time we need.
Yeah.
It's just-
In other words, they're gonna make
we
sure
have unlimited time, we have
Basically,
unlimited
my
time.
mind is making sure I'm safe, which
I
is.
expressed out.
But it's, this is Breezy's treatment.
But that's not the first step, you still gotta get the first step down
What is
first.
the
I
first
know
step?
there's a power presence that flows in as and through all things.
There you go.
Okay, now,
So
the
what
next
are the
like,
qualities of the divine?
I can't read that, it's way too small.
Can we stack these cards together?
I know there's
No,
a
not yet,
how.
not yet. Okay, now.
It could be anything.
Right.
You all know qualities.
I express this inspiration
And
and.
when we do a session, often, you guys all have.
Or
sessions.
in the spirit of love
As a
is,
practitioner?
Yeah.
Every
Yeah.
Sunday, every Sunday.
No, that's a minute miracle.
There's more coverage than that?
Oh
Oh my gosh.
There's a whole hour
Flowing
that helps us, the goal is to help people walk back. You know, like,
That's true.
what the
So
issue
this
is,
is why we're
authenticity,
doing
and then walk
exercise.
back and say,
I
you're
am.
asking us. How does that get to where it is? And then we can really treat for the cause, because whatever's presented is got cause.
And I express this
They're
inspiration
just how
and
they are.
spirit
Wait
as
until you
and
pick one of
through.
them and say, would you do a session with me? And sit down.
In as.
And through.
Yeah, it's amazing.
That is
It
the
really is.
I know,
This, what we try to do is to kind of look at what, you know, so we're looking at wealth, so what are the qualities of what I feel? And then we align ourselves with that, and then we know the truth of the person that we're seeing.
I know. Yeah, I agree, yeah.
It does, it does, and then multiply that, I tell you, my session, that would be bringing me out of the water.
In,
Wait, what did you say?
It changed everything.
So this is
I know that the place,
It's really powerful. Whoever you resonate with in there.
so the place where I'm teaching.
Some people charge, most of us just go on
recognize
the about
One, and
fine
then.
food, made brownies, people don't
Do we
have
want the
not
step
I
two?
guess
Do we have
expressing
the
the
spirit of
connection.
whatever time.
Yeah.
Recognize the divine.
Doesn't matter.
Is that enough?
Most of us.
Yeah, recognize the divine in everything.
Don't worry about that and then
You said
ask them and
something
we
about
meet people, most of us meet people.
Yeah, separation there.
Yeah.
Separation.
Whoever you resonate with.
I know.
Where, do a session.
That's right.
Would you agree?
And where I lost.
I didn't hear what you said, I'm doing
Oh,
it.
where I've lost.
Whoever you resonate with.
Where you
session.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Take your time.
And actually, I would suggest you do it more than one
I
person,
recognize.
Yes.
because you get different input.
Yeah, we're all different. Obviously.
No, I love it. Yeah.
It's red
Can you imagine me?
It's like a Masonic
Big
temple.
hair on the stage?
I'm not very good at intersaying.
Okay,
I think for Halloween.
I've seen you just
I'm
go to
doing
work on the
I
major.
recognize the divine in
The
everything.
wig.
And how do we,
Yeah,
no, because it's got eyes.
Recognize
What's
it.
it?
Recognize the divine in everything.
You have a secret, how
I
where I can share secrets. Yeah.
Bind
But you're,
yourself.
because
Like
part of
the
it
idea
is-
of shared empowerment.
You want the same.
That, we can tie that into
I realize
knowing how to.
Yeah.
I recognize the divine in everything, and
That came.
I
I wonder what she would do with that someone came on stage.
with it or them.
Okay, you guys, seriously, you only have like 3 or 4
Yeah,
minutes.
we're good, we're good.
The opportunity, you
Seriously.
know. I believe you. You know I don't write long. Okay,
You
now,
breathing?
3.
Alright, so that's what is the financial.
Are you guys?
What is that short phrase?
I know this, I'm doing it.
3 or 4 minutes.
They're all like two, they have a 2 words that they're answer. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
good.
My affirmation will start with, I know that I am meant to have
What, you know,
flow of energy.
the to me, through me, as me.
Yes. What's 3?
So this is what I have so far. I
As me.
receive your
As me.
gentle
I am.
element of love, which is infinitely
Openly.
omnipresent, omnipotent, omniscient, and all.
And rewarded
Good.
Spirit of love.
generously.
I recognize all love.
Yeah, that's good.
in all places,
This
in all
group's wise woman. I have unlimited
to the right.
And then
You guys are all wise.
Where are you at?
It's a better name for quiet expressing
we're in
self.
step 4, where you're expressing gratitude for what you have.
Oh, and to enjoy, how about that? Yeah. So, okay.
So just speak to.
Even if according to all logistic appearances, you don't see it, this is what you
Hope I'm
know
ready for it.
is there.
Knowing also.
And this
I don't.
Yeah.
It's in there.
Example.
So then, do we say, and I release this until just 3
limiting
years?
thought or burden in my past, wipes out anything I've got
I didn't follow. I don't listen to her.
going. And then I go, my life is God's blessing, harmony.
4.
and-
Oh, 4.
Okay, we're at the give thanks.
So you're gonna, you're affirming, yep, you're affirming
so
your gratitude.
Typically fairly short,
You're
some
grateful in
So I give
now,
thanks,
says it.
and the third one was, I have a people and all debts are paid and cleared in full. And I give thanks.
Gratitude and acceptance.
I give thanks for this abundance in my life.
So you say, I'm grateful and I accept this.
And what did you want to say?
Oh, I'm so grateful that this is present in my life now, that this is.
This abundance.
Circulate.
I'm like, chime in.
Yeah, I
Well,
thank
it's a-
you.
it's your stop.
I feel blessed for the abundance that I have. We're dealing with self-expression. Yeah.
Here we go.
Yeah.
Circulate
Place to express.
in all areas of my
You
life.
could say a lot of things.
Everything that you've affirmed earlier.
Effort or struggle.
And that, God, I'm grateful that the spirit itself is an expression. Everything is just grateful for all this. Thank God for artists, right?
I will say you're
Well,
a
you're
good
not
teacher.
supposed to be.
One of my favorite.
Thank you.
Good teacher.
Thank you.
All of them comes
You what?
To me, it's like you've just been granted,
Okay.
Each time that you say.
somebody just handed you a
Yes.
lamp. There's a genie.
And I
There's 2 wishes.
Okay.
They think you use the third one.
Yeah. Okay.
And you do it right away.
It's been a great class, but it's 1:45, and so
Right away.
let's have the people read their treatments, and we're going to say as a group, in terms of the final step, what we're gonna do is say, and so it is. After, and if you wanna do jazz hands, it's up to you. Or lift us up, lift us up. So, who would like to read theirs first?
We're done.
Self-expression? Self-expression first. Melanie.
Thank you. Thank you, really.
This is the first one.
Okay.
God is the creative force of the universe.
Louder, please.
Louder. God is the creative force of the universe. God is the dynamic force of spirit. Inspiration and passion flow as God. And I am this source of creative force. I express this inspiration and creativity because spirit moves through me. I know the place is the divine expression where my creativity blossoms. Empowerment is shared, and I know that the flow of energy is received openly and rewarded generously financially. I enjoy expressing myself to allow my good to expand. And I'm grateful for the perfect place and environment to express the creativity of Source, and I accept it in gratitude.
And
so it is. Well done. Group of self-expression. Who would like to read theirs?
I know there is a power, and presence flows in, as, and through all things. I recognize the divine in everything, and I am one with it. I have unlimited income, and all debts are paid and cleared in full. I give thanks for the ease of this abundance, and it circulates in all areas of my life.
And so it is. Good. Health of relationships. Okay.
I gotta read it, Jane, yeah.
Yeah, she's got 2 pages.
No, I started. I could write a book, really. I know that spirit is the full embodiment of love, which is infinitely omnipresent, omnipotent, omniscient, and all-loving. This spirit of love is me. I recognize that all love exists in all places, all time, under my feet, above my head, to the right, to the left, and all around. Knowing this is so, I embrace and welcome a deeply loving, committed, fun, romantic relationship. This relationship is full of infinite positive potentialities. I am so grateful this complete relationship is mine right now.
And so it is.
I like that, above and below.
I do too.
Yes. She's good with
Yes,
that.
so was that your one?
No.
God is the breath of life. That is the ocean breeze, the rustle through the trees that flows out over the land and funnels dust into stars and planets. God is ever evolving, expanding, here, now, into infinity. I know that God's breath working through spirit is me, an immortal spiritual being that has twirled into this physical body, Morgan Miles. I know that God's presence is within me. God is the wind that flows over my skin, and inhaling to smell the flowers, I breathe effortlessly and fully every minute of every day. I easily hike the Grand Canyon, and God and I are one on the cusp. I am grateful for God's breath flowing through my lungs that carries me to the top of the world and out into the universe.
And so it is. Wow, those were really beautiful. So does that help with learning how to put things into the present for the gratitude? We'll work a little bit more on that next week when we also do the release. And now we're going to just move into the offering, unless anyone has any questions. Well done. Wow, that was wonderful. How did it feel to be the receiver of So It Is?
Awesome.
Is that awesome?
Before you even started reading.
And so as we center and quiet and get ready to give and to receive, I know that the offerings that placed in this basket are there through love and desire for growth and wealth and health and love and all of those things. And I'm just so excited, and let's just do it. 3, 4. This is the hardest part. That's okay. Couple checks going on over there.
22nd, yes.
Okay, thank you. And as we hold the divine presence of love in our hearts, I know that this evening is one full of joy, laughter, and love. I am so grateful. I'm grateful for each member present. I'm grateful for everyone who has shared. I'm grateful for everything that's transpired this evening. And I know that we take this love out with us wherever we go, sharing and touching, smiling at one another. And that is the purpose of life, and that is the love of the divine. And I know that I am so blessed to be a part of it. And tonight I say, and so it is. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, Kate.
Thank you.
Thank you.